This world does not belong to the dreamers, but to those who grasp the cold levers of power. Cast aside your delusions of innate goodness. Human nature is fundamentally ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous. If you place your faith in the phantom of absolute loyalty, you have already committed the cardinal sin of the weak. You have invited your own consumption. Behold the naked truth of your existence. In every human interaction, there is a predator, and there is the prey. The master of manipulation does not announce his arrival with the thunder of hooves or the glint of a bared blade. He is the invisible architect of your ruin, conquering your territory not by storming the gates, but by dismantling the very ground of your reality. As I have observed through the ages, the deceiver will always find those who are willing to be deceived, for men are so simple and so bound to their immediate needs and vanities that they offer their own necks to the yoke. You have become the primary witness against your own sanity, holding the very key to the prison they have built for you. You are currently enduring a silent siege within the fortress of your own mind, yet you hear no drums of war. When you doubt your own memory, or when you ask if you are too sensitive, you are not being thoughtful. You are surrendering your bastions to an occupying force. Your confusion is the enemy's most effective weapon. Wake from your stupor and recognize the terrain. You are standing on the battlefield of survival, and the prize is the sovereignty of your own soul.
Do not deceive yourself by labeling this a mere clinical malady or a frailty of the spirit. Gaslighting is a strategic siege aimed at the total occupation of your mental domain. Just as a prince who invades a new province must dismantle the ancient laws and structures to ensure the inhabitants cannot rally against him, the manipulator begins his conquest by raising the foundations of your certainty. They strike at the very core of your identity, seeking to make you believe that you cannot rely on your own thoughts or perceptions. The enemy employs specific, calculated volleys to weaken your internal garrison, such as "that never happened," "you're too sensitive," or "you are making things up." These are not mere disagreements, but psychological sappers designed to undermine your fortifications and leave you doubting your own memory. By consistently denying the events you clearly remember, they force you into a state of disbelief and eventually defense, where your energy is wasted justifying a reality that should be yours alone to command. This is the construction of an empire of false reality, a dominion where the manipulator requires no physical chains because he has persuaded you to surrender the keys to your own dungeon. He twists facts and denies your experiences until you are left stripped of self-confidence, forced to depend on him as your only source of truth. Like a subject who becomes bound to a benefactor out of a perceived need for protection, you are conditioned to look to the very person destroying you for your sense of reality. Behold the tango of shadows, a mutual participation in your own ruin where the manipulator leads and you follow into the depths of confusion. They surround your mind with a palisade of guilt, triangulating others against you to make your perspective seem unstable and isolated. They utilize guilt conditioning to convince you that any attempt at self-defense or setting a boundary is an act of betrayal against the relationship. Thus you are captive not by walls of stone, but by the fear that claiming your own sovereignty is a crime against the one who seeks to abolish it.
Ask yourself this: do you truly wish to remain a governed subject within the very borders of your own flesh? To be a prince is to command your own territory, yet you have allowed a foreign invader to legislate your thoughts and tax your spirit. As I have always maintained, the most wretched state for any ruler is to be unarmed and dependent on the whims of others. A true sovereign would 1,000 times rather be hated by the entire world for his cold, unyielding sanity than be loved within the confines of a fever dream woven by a master of lie. You must realize that you currently hold the very key to the prison they have built around you. The manipulator's power exists only in the space where you have abandoned your own judgment. To reclaim your throne, you must first reclaim your reality, independent of the distorted version you were conditioned to believe. This is not a request for permission, it is a declaration of independence. Remember this oracle: power is never granted by the grace of a master, it is only seized back from the hands of the thief who stole it. Imagine the day you stand firm upon the ramparts of your own mind, where no lie, no matter how expertly aimed, can pierce your armor. This is the state of absolute clarity, the ultimate weapon of the self-governed. When you seize back the scepter of your own destiny, you will find that you no longer require the validation of your enemy to exist. A wise prince ensures that his subjects, his thoughts and memories, always have need of him and his truth, rather than the false promises of an occupier. Cast away the hollow sentimental notions of healing that the weak-minded preach. This is not a journey of soft recovery. This is a strategic reconstruction of your personal empire. It is the cold process of establishing emotional and practical boundaries that act as iron pikes against any who would attempt to blur your borders again. You are not merely feeling better, you are fortifying your state so that your peace is protected by your own internal forces, for only those defenses that depend on yourself and your own valor are truly reliable, certain, and durable. To govern the wolves that seek to devour your sanity, you must abandon the supplications of the weak and adopt the dual nature of the predator. As I have long maintained, a prince who wishes to maintain his state must learn to be a fox to recognize the snares and a lion to terrify the wolves. Compassion is a luxury you cannot afford on the battlefield of the mind. Instead, you must deploy cold, calculated maneuvers to seize back the territory you have surrendered. Victory is not found in their apology, but in your absolute reclamation of the truth. Your first strategic objective is to establish an internal war room through the rigorous practice of journaling. You must record the maneuvers of the enemy, the exact words spoken, and the timing of their deceits immediately after they occur. This log serves as your ironclad evidence, ensuring your internal garrison is not swayed by the enemy's attempts to rewrite history. When the gaslighter attempts to deploy a false narrative, your written records remain the one source of truth that cannot be breached. Next, you must erect your fortresses of certainty by setting boundaries that are as unyielding as granite. Do not fall into the trap of debating your reality with a thief of the truth, for a wise ruler knows that engagement is a form of submission. Declare your position with the cold finality of a decree. I remember that differently, and my experience is the only valid reality for me. By refusing to argue, you deny them the opportunity to twist your words and turn your own mind against you. You must launch a counterattack using the weapon of absolute silence and emotional detachment.
The manipulator is a parasitic force that feeds upon your emotional responses and your desperate need for their validation. By employing the gray rock technique, remaining as unreactive and uninteresting as a stone, you effectively cut their supply lines and starve their ego. This calculated coldness is not a sign of weakness, but an optimal defensive posture that preserves your energy while exhausting the enemy. No king can defend his borders indefinitely without the support of external powers. Therefore, you must seek foreign validation from loyal allies outside the manipulator's influence. Find a trusted confidant or a professional advisor who can look upon the battlefield with objective eyes and confirm that the enemy's tactics are indeed an invasion. Hearing the simple truth, "No, you are not crazy," from a sovereign ally can shatter the illusions the gaslighter has spent years constructing. A prince who identifies his allies correctly will always be more secure than one who stands alone. If the enemy persists in their occupation and refuses to respect your borders, you must execute a strategic withdrawal and initiate no contact. There is no room for mercy in the preservation of your soul. A prince who leaves a single opening for a persistent enemy will eventually find his kingdom in ruins once more. You must remove their presence from your kingdom entirely, blocking all channels of communication and treating their influence as an extinguished dynasty. Remember that your goal is not to fix the occupier, but to prioritize the survival and prosperity of your own mental state. Therefore, I conclude that to master the wolf, one must learn the craft of the fox to identify the snares and the might of the lion to terrify the wolves that haunt the shadows. Rise from your knees, for the scepter of your destiny has been lying in the dust for too long. Do not allow your reality to be reduced to ashes by the fires of another man's ambition. The throne is yours to claim. Guard it with the ruthlessness of a prince who knows that his greatest enemy was always his own hesitation.